Are you guys ready?
Let's
Yeah.
go. Whoa! Do you guys know what time it is?
What time is it?
It's time to buckle up again, boys.
Hi, welcome to another episode of Buckle Up, where we get hands-on on new watches.
So last year around this time, we did a video professing our love for Cartier. 1 year later, we're here to share something that's very special to us with the world.
So not only are we unveiling one NSO, but actually two NSOs that we designed with Cartier.
You guys ready?
Let's go.
Let's go. All right, so let's go for the first piece. Let's start with the Cloche. All right, so Jonathan, given you're the designer of this one, can you tell us a little bit about the watch?
Firstly, I decided to name this watch Belle, Pêche, so French for a beautiful peach. And I was very inspired by the color of peach. Some people like to call it salmon, but I like to call this peach. Cloche in French means bell, and this is one of the quirkiest watches in Cartier's lineup. This one actually first started off as a jewelry watch. So for ladies, mostly ladies, they could wear it on their clothes and then they'd be able to view the watch.
Like this.
The opposite. So you'd be able to wear it like this, and then you could just turn around and face yourself and you'd be able to see the time.
Interesting.
Cartier made it officially into a wristwatch in 1921, but it was never really a mainstay.
Can you tell us a little bit about the design of this watch then? What inspired you to, make it in this color? What are some of the design details that you injected into this watch?
Sometimes I find that the guilloche pattern on some Cartiers with the full rosette can be a little bit too visually too much. So I prefer the guilloche that was only in the center portion. I also wanted to go with a slightly different, literally a twist. So yeah, I could call it a cloche with a twist. So that's why the guilloche pattern I chose a
So what do you call this specific guilloche pattern?
I'm not sure there's an official name. I personally call it twist or tornado.
Tornado. Nice name.
I think that might have been the official name that we saw on the.
Yeah, and I think this is inspired by the Santos Dumont XL that came out a few years ago, right?
Yes,
the
exactly.
two-tone with the exact same, pattern on the dial.
Exactly. I actually own that watch, and I really liked looking at the pattern, and I thought it would look really nice brought into this watch. Personally, for me, I didn't want to keep the sunburst finish on the dial. I was also quite inspired by the finish of the 90th anniversary of the Santos Dumont. That kind of has this almost similar peach, pale, creamish, salmonish color. So that's what I wanted to go for.
Yeah, I think that was a similar shade with like a grain dial as well, right?
Exactly.
So this kind of reminds me of that.
Exactly.
So Jonathan, I noticed these hands are different from the 2019 edition. Can you tell us a little bit more about these hands?
Yeah, so I chose to go with these blue steel palm hands. I felt that these hands, they've shown up in the history of Cartier numerous times, and every time it's shown up, I found that they just go really well with the watch, and I've fallen in love with them, and I think it's a great match.
Yeah, I think one thing I really like about this watch is the railway track is in like a burgundy red, right? Kind of reminiscent of the Cartier red, which echoes with the red on the crown. So I think that's a pretty good, cool feature.
Yeah, that's exactly what the reason why
They
I chose
match
this
really
color.
well with the salmon as well. They're all very warm tone.
Peach.
Okay.
Peach.
Let's move on to the next one. So here we have a Tank Cintree. Am I pronouncing that correctly? Tank Cintree. Excuse my French. So Halbert, you are the designer of this watch. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yes, absolutely. So the Cintree has actually been like one of my favorite Cartier models of all time. I just love how it feels on the wrist, how thin it is, how it curves over the wrist. So when given the opportunity to make a Cartier NSO, of course I'm going to choose a Cintree.
What is the significance of this model to the brand?
I think the Tank Cintree started in the 1920s, and I think back then wristwatches weren't very prevalent. So You have a lot of ladies wearing jewelry watches, but for men, I don't think there were many wristwatch options. So at that time, to come up with a watch that's, you know, rectangular, curved, I think it's like a very daring approach, and it's actually a pretty big watch if you look at it. Like when you put it on your wrist, it almost spans the width of your wrist. I've nicknamed this watch Valse Bleu. So in English, it will be Blue Waltz. So just to pay tribute to Cartier, we're giving them French nicknames. So the watch that inspired me to design this watch really is the one that's the luminous Cartier Tank Cintree that was bought by Fred Astaire, the famous dancer, for his friend and I think horse trainer, Felix Leach Jr. On that watch itself, all the Arabic numerals are luminous, and they're also like the Arabic numerals are actually quite bold. So it looks a bit more out there compared to some of the other Tank Cintrees with Arabic numerals.
Right. So, but why have you chosen to put a blue dial on it?
So the blue dial, or firstly, blue is a favorite color of mine. And I think secondly, I'm actually inspired by one of the blue dial Tank Cintrees that Ara Montanari has. I've seen it on one of his interviews, and that one has, I think it was a replaced blue dial, but it was made by Cartier. And when I saw that, I just thought, oh, the blue just looks so nice on the Cintree, and
I love
just
this
had
blue.
to put it together.
Yeah.
Because it's a bit, it's not like a tone of color, but it is slightly lighter in the center, darker,
fume.
like a fume kind of blue.
Yeah.
And then combined with the more bold font makes it very casual. It's like having a casual dial, but on a very dressy watch, kind of makes it kind of stands out.
Yeah, exactly. Like you said, there's a gradient in terms of the blue dial, and the blue kind of looks different in different light as well because of the gradients. And I just think this is probably one of the best everyday watches one can have.
Given these two are THC NSO, are there any common features amongst the two?
So on the surface, I think we can already see like both watches are made in platinum, both have the iconic ruby crown. And also if you flip it over to the back, then you can see both watches also have the THC engraving on the back.
And there's actually another feature in both of these watches. So we decided to go with a little signature, THC signature in both of these watches. So for the Cloche, if you look carefully in the train track, so next to the numerals of 8, 5, and 2, there's actually the THC abbreviation actually in the red little boxes.
And on the Cintree, while you can't see anything in the railway track, but when you shine it under a UV light and you look at it in the dark, you can actually see the 8, 5, and 2 numerals glowing in the dark. Well, this is the telephone country code for Hong Kong, which is the home of THC.
You know what the case, I'm already thinking it's a scratch magnet.
That's true, it's got a lot more surface area.
It's very shiny. Not going to be shiny for very long.
Well, originally I actually wanted the brand cards, I think they're called, to be brushed. So now I guess we can brush it ourselves with our sleeves.
Yeah, let's do it.